to initiate release sequencer. On my mark. 5.
We're on express elevator to hell. Going down.
2. 1. Mark.
Hello everyone, my name is Mark, aka Derringer. Today is Sunday, May 19th, and you are listening to episode 209 of the Instant Action Podcast, your weekly source for Planetside news and information. As always, I'm brought to you by great listeners like you via the Support the Show tab on instantactionpodcast.com. Speaking of that Support the Show tab, I did get actually an email from Amazon this week that I was apparently was in violation of their terms, and therefore they have deleted my Amazon link. Apparently I'm not allowed to ask people to favorite that link. I'm working on getting that back, so that sucks. That's the least that I can say about that. So if you go to that Support the Show tab, you'll notice that I have changed the information there, and that link, I don't know if that link even works or not anymore. Well, I know the link works, but it's not giving me credit anymore, which stinks. So I might need to create a new link for people to use and keep on that site. But I'll work on that sometime this next week for people who use my link constantly, and I'll let you know when that's up as well, because it doesn't look like Amazon is going to give me back my old link, which stinks because I have a couple months worth of fees sitting out there that they have clawed back from me as well. So that sucks. As you guys know, anybody using that Amazon link or any other donations, those go directly to my server costs every year. So kind of bulking those up over the year is through the Amazon link was probably the biggest way for me to do stuff like that. So that stinks. But other than that, I've been playing the shit out of Planetside this past week. I mean, there's so many people in game now that anytime that I log in, no matter what time of day it is, there's a ton of people playing it, and seeing a lot of people I haven't seen in a long time playing it. A lot of Bax members I've seen back in game that I haven't seen in a long time. Good to see you guys back, and I'll chat with you guys every time you kill me, so don't worry. But yeah, again, if you have not been playing Planetside 2 since the DirectX 11 game update, and you're on the fence about it because you're worried that there aren't a lot of people in-game playing, now is the time to get back in-game and play some more, because the populations and fights are great. There's multiple continents open. There's good fights going on every continent. There's alerts going on every continent. A couple nights ago, Emerald had 3 of the 4 continents open at one point, and there were good fights on every single one of them. So again, if you have not been playing and sitting on the sidelines waiting, now's the time to get back into it. And I mean, I've been playing so much that I've even enjoyed playing my TR character. So what's that say? I've been doing a lot of the NSO robot stuff, working on that character. My engineer is sitting at 2KD now, which, I mean, calling myself a 2KD engineer is unheard of in game. But so yeah, if you've been sitting on the sidelines, now is the time to get back into it. But enough about me. What's in store for this week's show? Well, first, I have a hotfix to talk about that I covered mostly last week, but I'll shoot through it again this week. And then I'm going to talk about the game update that is going to be dropping on Monday. Now, I don't normally talk about game updates the day prior, but why not? Let's do it. After that, I want to dive a little deeper into the BioLab spawn changes and spawn changes in general, and then I'll finish up talking about the Miller Cobalt hardware upgrade and what that means for Connery and Emerald in the future. So strap in as we hot drop into another episode of the Instant Action Podcast. So, like I said, first up this week was the May 14th PC hotfix that we got last week. And I know PS4 listeners, there hasn't been a lot of PS4 news for the game in quite a while. I know that Nick tweeted that they are working, pretty much everything they're doing is PC related at this point, but a lot of the stuff that they're doing for the PC will translate over into the PS4. So you guys got to be a little bit more patient. On the other side, I have seen lots of posts on the PS4 subreddit saying that there's a lot more fights going on in game. So I think that the excitement over the PC side of the game is actually bringing people to the PS4 side of the game. But again, you guys still got to wait a little longer for that big game update to hit the PS4. But again, back to the PC. And I know I talked about a lot of this stuff last week, so I'm going to kind of gloss through it or run through it really quickly. There are a few things that weren't talked about last week that got added to this hotfix as well. So I'll spend a little more time on some of those. So starting with the updates, they're all miscellaneous changes, fixes, and additions for the most part. They fixed the driving invisible body vehicles issue. They fixed the particle effects flickering during player movement. They fixed the tank mines so they trigger when you run them over. They removed the event vehicle terminals from the warp gates on Indar. They changed the auto squad invite to now only join players into open squads instead of forming fresh squads. They fixed the auto squad no longer trying to join a squad when the player is already in a squad. That was annoying. They fixed the auto squad finding squads in the VR training zones. They fixed the VSync settings so that it retains your options. They fixed the issue where vehicles weren't interpreting shadows correctly. They removed these faction-specific interference profile banners. They fixed the NSOs no longer being able to unlock loadout slots at battle rank 5 and 15. Again, you're given those again by default. I have them now on my NSO character, even though I didn't. They fixed the NSO characters not showing up on the scoreboard with the correct team colors. They fixed the NSO characters not receiving alert and event rewards for the team that they're on. I can definitely say that has been working for me. I did a long alert the other day on my NSO character and got a ton of NSO, and it was glorious. They fixed the fact that NSOs couldn't pull routers. You can pull them again. They fixed the Ranger so that it's now firing projectiles for NSO characters. They fixed the fact that you couldn't buy pelters on the Galaxy. You can do that again. They fixed the NSX Tengu Platinum variant. It was giving you a medal or a tier at every 10 medals that you earned. They fixed that, so now it is correct. So hopefully if you were working on your Exceptional 2 directive, you finished that Tengu prior to the 14th. They fixed the Yellow Jacket mining laser not being able to be used as a siege weapon. They feel like they fixed the map interacting with the warp gate terminal where you're overlapping UI elements. I haven't seen that crop up on my screen anymore. They fixed the ghostly overlay over an active gameplay window on the loadout screen. They fixed the missing aerial anomaly particle effects. They fixed the pillager particle effects on low. The Horizon with unstable ammo shows its projectiles again. I was using the Horizon last night with unstable ammo, and I saw all my projectiles. Sticky grenades can be resupplied again. I didn't even realize that was a thing. The Pain Spire's particles have been restored. The vehicle's smokescreen ability once again emits smoke visuals. Dark light flashlights now show their light source, and finally vehicle headlights now also show their light source. I know the dark light and the vehicle headlights was a big issue, not showing their light sources. The next big change in this hotfix was the spawn system, and these all are now on live right now, and I like the majority of it, except for one small thing. So under the miscellaneous changes, you can no longer spawn into disabled regions. You can squad deploy even if your squad leader is dead. They have changed it so squad deploy now uses the leader's location to determine spawn points instead of the squad's overall location. So even if your squad leader's dead, it's going to pick the closest last location to the squad leader for that spawn location. They remove the 5-second respawn timer countdown on quick deploy. Spawn points on cooldown are rendered invisible until they become available. And this is the biggest, I think, complaint going on with this update. And I do know that the devs are working, rethinking this one. And I'll talk about that more a little bit later on this week's show. You can now also deploy in squad vehicles at any distance, and also even ones that are in enemy territory. And that's a big change. And I kind of talked about that a bit last week. It used to be that if you were flying, it always happened to me with a Galaxy. The Galaxy would be flying over, and it would cross over into enemy territory, and then no one could spawn. And so the Galaxy pilot had to fly back into friendly territory just to allow people to spawn. That has changed, and I can say that is a good change to the game. I'm glad that they made that, because I've noticed that a lot more, that I'm able to get into that Galaxy or get into that Valkyrie even though it's crossed over into enemy territory. You can now also deploy into Sunderers in valid regions at any distance, which is another big change. Reinforcements needed has been disabled. They'll bring it back when they rework it. And then the other big change is that satellite spawn points inside BioLabs now act as spawn points and not just teleporters. And I'll talk about this one a little later on in the show as well. Next, let's talk about the Priority 1 and Priority 2 spawn system, because this is now live as well. For Priority 1, you can now spawn into enemy-adjacent regions with less than 24 players. You can now spawn into capturable enemy regions with less than 24 players. Your last spawn location has been added to Priority 1, regardless of whether it's in another region or not. Priority 2, the baseline spawn time was increased by 5 seconds for these. It now also includes spawn beacons. So now spawn beacons are on a 15-second cooldown, which is a huge change. So beacons are back. That was a big one last week and 2 weeks ago as well, that beacons were broken and not working. So good to know beacons are back and you can use them again. Also, the Priority 2 includes the Elysium spawn tube and router for purposes of spawn times. And they also fixed some issues that was preventing Priority 2 spawn locations from following the rules correctly. So again, I know I talked about a lot of this last week, so I'm not going to dive too deep into it. And instead, we'll move on to our second topic this week, which brings brand new stuff I haven't talked about yet. And that second topic is the May 20th PC game update. This was announced on Friday that we'll be getting this on Monday. It's going to drop at 6 a.m. Pacific. And this is basically going to bring us the 16th anniversary of the Planetside franchise. They did this for the first time last year for the 15th anniversary. It was a huge success. A lot of people excited about it, a lot of people talking about it, and this is going to be going from May 20th through the 31st of May. We're going to get some special items, we're going to get some bundles, we're going to get some double and quad experience while this is going on. So the first thing that we're going to be getting on Monday is the bending beacon. If you guys remember this from last year, it's going to show up in your utility slot. And it deploys a small meteor storm and the Planetside logo. It's just kind of fun item to use. They're also bringing back the PS1 AV suppressor. The suppressor was originally a gun, a submachine gun in Planetside. They brought that back last year. It is just a reskinned version of the MKV suppressed. So if you already have the MKV, you don't necessarily need the suppressor, but it's definitely a cool looking skin. And it's also one of the exceptional items as well. Also, the PS1 AV suppressor is something that can be used on the NSO robots. I know I have it unlocked on mine. The suppressor itself is going to be 1,499 Daybreak cash. if you're looking to purchase it. It cannot be purchased with certs. Next, they're bringing back the Bending Bundle, and this is for 2,999 Daybreak Cash. It's only going to be available during this event, so through the 31st. You're going to get some armors. You're going to get the suppressor, and it's all rolled up into the bundle. So the first thing you're going to get is the Rexo helmet and the Rexo heavy assault armor. And this is going to be for your VS, NC, and TR characters, not for your NSO character, sorry. You're also going to unlock the solid gray camo for the TR, the solid yellow camo for the NC, and the solid cyan camo for the VS. And then again, you're going to unlock the suppressor. So you're getting a helmet and armor for all three factions, and you're getting a camo for all three factions, plus the suppressor for that 2,999 Daybreak Cash. Also, like I said, there's going to be double and quadruple XP. So starting on May 20th through May 25th, so this is all this week, Monday the 20th through Saturday the 25th, everyone is going to get double XP. And that's going to start at 12 a.m. Pacific time on the 20th. Quad experience is going to begin, and this is for members only, is going to happen on the 24th, so just on the Friday, and that's going to last until the 25th at midnight. Also, double XP from then is going to start on the 25th and end on the 27th. So again, if you're a member, that big quad XP time is going to be on the 24th. That's the day that you want to log in and play the shit out of Planetside 2. But again, everyone's going to get double XP this week. And then if you're a member, it's going to roll into the members double XP weekend, which is normally the 24th, 25th, and 26th. And again, 24th, you're going to get quad XP. So awesome, exciting stuff. And then they don't want to, ruin everything for everybody because the Planetside anniversary runs through the end of the month. They're going to bring back double XP on the 27th and run it all the way through June 1st. So if you are a non-member, you're basically getting double XP for 2 weeks. The only day that you're not going to get double XP, it looks like, is going to be on the 26th. Actually, it looks like it's going to be the weekend itself. So I wonder if they're going to reconsider that. If I was Daybreak Games, I'd reconsider that and just give double XP to everybody for 2 weeks. Hopefully, if they listen to this week's show, they'll think about that. Because that's going to be a big weekend, the 25th, 26th. And to not have double XP on both of those days, that's kind of interesting. So hopefully they'll reconsider that and give double XP all the way through. And I understand they're probably thinking we're going to give members something special on that weekend, but it seems weird to turn off double XP for 2 days and then turn it back on for a week. Regardless, this is what they've listed in the game update notes, is that non-members are getting double XP from the 20th through the 24th, and then again from the 27th through the 31st. So it sounds like the weekdays, non-members are getting double XP, and only on the weekend are members getting double XP and quad XP on the 24th. We'll have to see how that plays out. Now, that's not the only thing that they're dropping with this game update. There are some other miscellaneous changes, fixes in addition. They've decided to make the router and Elysium spawn tube locations no longer hidden while unavailable as spawn options. That's a good change. Last night I was playing and a lot of people were complaining that there was a router up, but they couldn't see it because it was... there was a cooldown before it actually showed up because of the invisible spawn locations. They've also fixed an issue where you would be unable to respawn while dying in the VR training room. And then a big change is Leaders Chat is going to be functional again. Now, I know they took away Leaders Chat a while ago, but it looks like that's going to be back. So get excited for that if you are a leader. So again, Big game update on Monday. I don't normally talk about game updates that are coming in the future, but since they were nice enough to provide me with all these patch notes, I get to talk about it today, and you get to hear about it as it happens. But with that, we do have new episodes of Veteran's Voice, so Romus, take it away.
As per Derringer's request last week, this time we're going to be covering some weapons you can use on your fancy new robot. Let's start with the heavy assault. If you're going to be using one of the LMGs, my recommendation is to ditch the Naginata like that ex-girlfriend who cheated on you and pick up your new bay, the NS-15M. That gun is a piece of magic. It has a very predictable recoil pattern of up and to the left, and it hits hard and is very, very accurate. Also, you won't be caught with your pants down for too long, considering the reload time is very short. I recommend engaging in medium to long range with it, although in the short range with a laser sight, it does do the trick. It's important to remember to aim for the head. The gun does a wonder at grouping shots together when you burst fire it. But if you do need to go full ham DACA mode, holding down the trigger and aiming for center mass while pulling down to the right a smidge will indeed get you the job done. It is important to remember that it does have a smaller magazine than probably what you're used to, but the equally tiny reload time means that it's absolutely okay. Next week we'll cover some of the other weapons as I peruse through the data and do some shooting myself. I'm not always about giving help to the other peoples, but I suppose one has to be friendly. And remember, the only difference between a scrub lord and a Superman is learning from your mistakes. Back to you, Derringer. I don't know. Maybe medic. Don't go yelling at me, Bloggins. You know I wing most of this stuff.
Oh, I'm so happy that Romus actually listened to me. I'm going to build a little bit on what Romus said about the NS-15M. I've been using it a lot lately. I don't think the Naginata is too bad either, but with the NS-15M, the only thing that he didn't go over might be for a new player or someone who doesn't use it often, is what additional things should you get, what attachments should you get for your NS-15M. And I think the consensus for the NS-15M is that you want to get a 1X scope on it. There's many different ones. I mean, yellow dot, red dot, 1X is the way to go. You also want to get the forward grip on it. You could or could not get the compensator. It's up to you. If you're short on certs, you don't necessarily need that one, but you definitely want to put soft point ammo on it as well. So again, 1X scope, grip, soft point ammo, those are the first three things that I would purchase for the NS-15M, whether you're using the NS-15M1, the M2, or the AE variant. Like I said, I've been using it a lot lately on my NSO character and also using it on my engineer because I have that perk unlocked via ASP. But moving on to our third topic this week, I want to talk a few moments just about the effects of changing those BioLab teleporter rooms to a hard spawn. It was an interesting thing that I didn't know anybody was even considering making that change. The devs had never mentioned that before. So it just shows a lot of the stuff that they've been doing behind the scenes regarding this spawn system revamp that we weren't aware of them making a small change like this. And maybe they talked about stuff in the Discord chat or on their streams or who knows. But again, I hadn't heard of it. But I did think that it was a very interesting change. And once that came to live, I did have played in quite a few BioLab fights. And it's interesting to see how people are playing with these. Obviously, it benefits attackers more than anything else because now not only are they able to spawn at the previous base and run to the teleporter and use the teleporter, but they can also use the actual spawn point in the teleporter room itself. And I've seen a lot of people using them. I've been using them a lot myself just to get into a BioLab faster. BioLab fights are one of my favorite fights in the game. I just like the fact that you can get up high on the rocks and fire down on people. You can. There's multiple points to fight over. They rank up there with tech plants as some of my favorite places to fight. But I've seen a few people complaining that this favors the attackers more than anything else. And I disagree that this favors the attackers in BioLabs, because I've been in my fair share of BioLab defenses since this has gone live, and my fair share of BioLab assaults since this has gone live. And I've won and lost both of them. But I don't think that attackers have any sort of advantage to this, because what I'm finding is that people are kind of getting tunnel vision on these teleporter rooms now, especially when you're an attacker, and that you're only using this teleporter room spawn and not using the base to spawn at and then run at and use the teleporter to move over. And what I'm finding this is doing is it's leaving those bases susceptible to a back hack by the BioLab defenders. We did it. We've done it multiple times now at this point, where we've gotten a group of 12 to 24 people and taken Valkyries or Galaxy over, dropped the point at the previous location, and been able to flip it without the people in the BioLab even knowing that it's being flipped or being captured, and then all of a sudden their spawn is just gone in the BioLab itself, and they can no longer do anything about it. At one point, we did this. We captured the point, flipped it, and made sure that they couldn't spawn, and trapped 96 plus people in the BioLab with nowhere to go, nowhere to respawn, and they had to go back an entire map location. So I want to be the argument against people that are saying the BioLab spawns are favoring the attackers, because that's just not my opinion in the game, this game right now. And if you're a BioLab defender, this is now your new strategy, to go and capture that point and lock those people in. Now, I want to talk a little further about spawn points in general, because Doku also had a post this week asking, why are we using the invisible spawn points at all? It's kind of it doesn't work very well, because obviously when you're playing the game, you die, you need to respawn, you get your current few spawn points, and then the rest of the map is completely blank. And there are a lot of times where you're like, well, why can't I spawn here? Why can't I spawn there? What's going on? And then a few moments later, boom, they all pop into existence, and you see them all. And the big one is the routers, and I know I mentioned that they're fixing that one in Monday's game update. But not being able to see a router, which should be a quick spawn, instantaneous spawn wherever you are, is kind of annoying. And Doku suggested that why don't we have the spawn points all show up and have a little circle around them that slowly fills up, showing when they're able to be used again. And I don't know if that's the perfect solution to it, but Rel did respond to that. And his comment is specifically that spawn points being invisible was a good experiment, but isn't desirable in the long term, so they'll be getting changed in a later update. However, adding even more clutter to the UI is not something we'd want to do. There are a few options, and we're still determining the final look, but you'll likely see them either with separate iconography when on cooldown, or increase in opacity as they get closer to becoming available. So I'm glad that they also understand that the invisible spawn points is probably not the best way to do it. I understand why they did it the way they did it, because it makes sense on paper. It just doesn't feel like it's the perfect solution when we actually have it in game itself. So I know this was kind of a 2-point topic, again, talking about the BioLab teleporter rooms, and a suggestion on how to make so you don't think that attackers have an advantage, because I don't think that they do. But then also what the ultimate outcome of these invisible spawn points are. Know that if you don't like it, the devs hear you and they're going to make changes to it as well. But with that, let's move on to our fourth and final topic this week. And that last topic is I just want to spend a few moments and talk about the Miller and Cobalt hardware upgrade, because that did get added in this past week. And I immediately saw quite a few people who play on Miller and Cobalt saying that the game has been buttery smooth for them since the upgrade, even though Nick did tweet saying that it's not 100% done yet. You know, the hardware is in place, but they still have other things that they need to smooth out and fix. And I know Prompt Critical talked about it a lot as well. But I think the early consensus is that a lot of people saw a lot of good server performance, game performance from this hardware upgrade. And yes, like I said, Nick is aware that there are pockets of people that are having issues with it, that it's not perfect for them. They're aware of it. They're working it out. But I think the majority of people are seeing improvements and good stuff from these changes. So I think that bodes well for seeing also an upgrade to the hardware on both Connery and on Emerald. I doubt if you're going to see a hardware upgrade to Briggs, because that server movement between Briggs and Connery is still available for people. So I wouldn't imagine we're going to see that on Briggs. But again, I think Connery is next, based on things that Nick has said, that they're looking to add Connery hardware upgrade to the next round of updates that they do. He did also state that there's a different issue that they're working on related to how servers are configured and not with the actual hardware, because Prompt Critical did say that they spent the good part of the last 3 days or so debugging, and they have discovered a network configuration issue on one of the underlying gateway servers where packets are getting dropped in the data center, and this is resulting in high latency for a lot of players. He did say that in the meantime, it's only affecting about 12% of the population at any one time, and he says that if you are getting a huge high latency, you're dropping packets left and right, that you should relog from the game, and that's going to put you on a different gateway and should fix the issues that you're having on Connery. Because again, this is only happening to about an eighth of the population at any one time. So clearly it seems like there's one gateway that's having issues, and all the rest of the gateways are probably working properly. Like, let's just say that there are 8 gateways, and I don't know how many gateways there are. I'm just hypothetically speaking. Say there's 8 gateways. One of those gateways isn't working, and obviously an eighth of all players got to go through that gateway regardless. If you log out, log back in, it should put you on a different gateway and hopefully correct your issues if you're having issues on Connery. But again, we should see an upgrade to the hardware on Connery soon. And again, that makes me think that next on the list is most likely Emerald. I play pretty much exclusively on Emerald. I don't have many game issues on Emerald, but adding better hardware can't hurt, especially if Miller and Cobalt saw such a huge upgrade, and then potentially Connery could see it as well. So, hats off to the devs for even throwing new hardware out there. I didn't think this late into the development cycle of a game that we would see new hardware, but I'm glad they're thinking about that in addition to new software like DirectX 11. But with that, let's finish up this week's show and move on to housekeeping.
Housekeeping. Housekeeping.
Come back later, please.
Housekeeping.
Not now.
Housekeeping.
Go away.
I coming anyway?
So no emails, no voicemail this week. That's okay. I know you guys, just like me, are playing the hell out of this game. So that's going to be it for this week's show. But how can you get in touch with me of the show? Well, first, visit my website, www.instantactionpodcast.com. Email me, instantactionshow@gmail.com. Call me, 347-4VM-4PS2. Those digits are 347-486-4772. And as always, follow the show on Twitter @InstActPodcast. But in closing, if you've enjoyed the show, please leave me a review on your podcast listening avenue of choice, whether it's iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, or anywhere else. Also, feel free to tell your friends and outfit mates about the show. But finally, thanks for listening, and keep spamming that Join Combat, formerly known as Instant Action button. Derringer out.
Oh my god, Derringer, please.